What's going on, family? I'm Scrapbook Boxing, the Museum of the Forgotten Fisticuff series. I'm going to continue my conversation with you concerning the complete history of boxing. You see, boxing is not just a sport. It's an art of expression. In order for you to understand or support, perhaps be a fight fan of a fighter, you must understand where that fighter came from. In order for you to understand where that fight is going. Because once you know where the fight is going, you now understand who the fighter is. Once you understand who the fighter is, he has now introduced himself or herself to you. Perfect example is a young man, Carmen Basilio, Canastota welterweight contender who would lose a 15-round split decision over the world welterweight champion, Cuban Hawk Kid Gavilen. Happened on the evening of September 18, 1953, at the War Memorial Auditorium in Syracuse, New York. And this is the closest facility to Carmen Basilio's hometown, Canastota. Referee for this contest was George Walsh. He and Judge Jack Campbell, Harold Barnes, had a 6-8. 5-1 favorite, Kid Gavilen, was dropped in the second round for a 9 count. In front of 6,440 spectators. Collectively, they would pay $74,317 to watch Basilio take a body beating with bolo punches, both head and body, in the 10th round. Gavilen earned $34,000 TV money. Basilio earned $17,000. Gavilen had a record of 94 wins, 13 losses, and 4 draws. As for Carmen Basilio, he brought into the ring a record that night, 35 wins, 10 losses, and 5 draws. Carmen Basilio was known as the Onion Farmer. He would eventually become the middleweight champion of the world when he would defeat the Sugar Man, Ray Robinson. Ray Robinson would return the favor by defeating Carmen Basilio, giving him a beating that Basilio would never forget. The only man to knock out Carmen Basilio was Gene Fullmer. He would stop him twice. As for Kid Gavilen, be in the ring with Ray Robinson twice, Philadelphia and Yankee Stadium in New York. New York fight was on the undercard of Ike Williams. Carmen Basilio was as tough as nails. He would keep pressing no matter what. Kid Gavilen had the fastest hands in the business. His 1952 contest against Gil Turner was as good as it gets. He would stop Gil Turner in the 11th round. Both men were amazing. February 26, 1954, Willie Pep, who was the former featherweight champion, would take a dive, 1 minute 53 seconds, in the 3rd round, against Lulu Perez for $16,000, according to the article, Sports Illustrated magazine, 1981. Pep would later sue the magazine company for $75 million. 1984. Pep would lose that lawsuit. Pep was 31 years old. He weighed 127 pounds. Lulu Perez was 20 years old. He weighed 127 pounds. Lulu Perez was born April 25th, 1933. And he died April 30th, 1997. Had a record of 56 total bouts, 39 wins, 15 losses, 15 knockouts. He was stopped 4 times. Now, the New York SAC would suspend Willie Pep because Willie Pep had a case being built against him. 1955, Pep's license was lifted. in Boston. And he would fight 51 more times. What did Willie Pep in was when the referee, Ray Miller, would go to the commissioner's office and file a complaint. Willie Pep would go roughhousing with Joe Sandy Sadler. The one thing you don't do is be responsible for the injury of a referee. Wednesday, October 21st, 1953, a Hawaiian's number one ranked middleweight contender, Carl Bobo Olsen, becomes the world middleweight champion and defending former world middleweight champion, Randy Turpin. He would defeat Turpin for the vacant middleweight championship strap when Ray Robinson would relinquish his title after his 1952 loss to Joey Maxim for the light heavyweight championship title. Randy Turpin would get that opportunity when he would face Charlie Holmes of Europe. Carl Bobo Olsen would get that opportunity when he would take on Patty Young. That victory over Patty Young would make Carl Bobo Olsen the America's middleweight champion. The victory of Randy Turpin over Charlie Holmes would make him the European middleweight champion. Randy Turpin and Carl Bobo Olsen would now collide for the world middleweight championship title. Referee was Al Burrell. He counts Turpin as he was dropped in the 9th round. It was scheduled for 10. A couple weeks before the fight, Eddie Daniels accuses Turpin of an assault. Now, Randy Turpin was 25 years old. He stood 5'9.5", weighed 157 pounds, had a 74.5-inch reach, and walked into the ring with a record of 49 wins, 3 losses, 1 draw, and 33 knockouts. As for Carl Bobo Olsen, he was 25 years old. He stood 5'10.5", weighed 159 pounds, and had a 70-inch reach. He climbed into the ring that evening with a record of 58 wins, 6 losses, and 29 knockouts. Olsen was in the ring with Gene Hairston, Garth Panther, Patty Young. Turpin was in the ring with Charlie Holmes, Don Kakal, and Walter Currier. Both these men would become a middleweight champion. Both these men would face Sugar Ray Robinson. February 26, 1954, world middleweight champion Carl Bobo Olsen would defeat world welterweight champion Kid Gavilen. It would be a majority decision. Chicago, Illinois, 15 rounds. Referee was Bernie Wilson. He keeps an eye on Kid Gavilen's right eye. His eye would be bleeding, squirting across the ring in front of 18,562 spectators. The fans would really be amazed at this fight because Kid Gavilen was hooking to the body and the head. He would rock Carl Bobo Olsen, but Olsen was much stronger than Kid Gavilen because Gavilen was a welterweight. Kid Gavilen was an amazing fighter. Hand speed, but he didn't have the punching power to control the fighter in front of him. Now, Joey Giardello was scheduled to fight Olsen next. And that's another story in our conversation. On a Monday night, July 2nd, 1952, The world welterweight champion Cuban Hawk Kid Gavilen with TKO Philadelphia star Gil Turner. Referee was Pete Tomasco. Had the score 6-4. And he would stop the contest 2 minutes and 47 seconds of the 11th round. It was scheduled for 15. And what was amazing about this contest, 39,000 paid $269,667 to watch one of the greatest welterweight championship contests ever fought at the Municipal Stadium in Philadelphia. Gil Turner was 21 years old. He stood 5'8", weighed 144.5 pounds. Climbed into the ring with a 69-inch reach and a record of 32 wins with no losses. Kid Gavilen weighed 146 pounds. He had a record of 82 wins, 12 losses, and 4 draws. Now, Gil Turner faced men like Izzy Lugard, Vince Martinez, Ralph Tiger Jones, Virgil Akins, Joey Giambra, Charlie Scott, Charlie Fusari, Bo Jack, and Del Flanagan. Gil Turner was born October 9, 1930 in Philadelphia. He died May 13, 1996, just 65 years of age at the time of his rest. And he would reside in Philadelphia. Fought from 1950 to 1958. Had 77 total bouts, 56 wins, 35 knockouts. He was stopped 4 times and had 19 losses. Be in the ring with Gene Foreman, Joey Giardello, Joe Maselli, Pierre Langlois, Johnny Saxton, Yama Bahama and Bobby Dykes, Virgil Akins and Ray Drake, Carmen Basilio, Ike Williams, Kid Gavilen, and many more. Now, Kid Gavilen was born January 6, 1926, and died February 13, 2003. Made it to the Boxing Hall of Fame in 1990. Had a total bout career of 143 bouts, 107 wins, with 30 losses. He would fight Billy Graham, Rocky Castellani, Bo Jack, Ray Robinson, just to name a few. His contact with Ike Williams and Johnny Bratton were classics. June 17, 1954. World heavyweight champion Rocky Marciano would stop Cesar Charles and becoming the first heavyweight champion to regain his world heavyweight championship title, New York's Yankee Stadium. Referee was Ruby Goldstein. He scored it 5-8. Artie Idala had it 5-9. And Howard Barnes had it 6-8. Marciano, third title defense, in front of 47,585 spectators. They would gracefully pay $543,002 for this contest. It was an investment in their entertainment. Now, this compelling match was paid $188,000 for the telecast. 61 movie theaters, 45 cities. Both Cesar Charles and Rocky Marciano would compete twice in 1954. Once went the distance, the other was a KO. Marciano had his nose split. No one thought he would continue, but he had the heart of a lion. Cesar Charles had one as well. Marciano was 29 years old. He stepped into the ring that evening, weighing 187 pounds. Had a record of 46 wins and 40 knockouts. He earned $275,691 that evening. Cesar Charles was 32 years old, stood 6 foot. Weighed 185 pounds that evening with a 73-inch reach. Walked into the ring with a record of 85 wins. and he earned $137,980. 8,000 people had cheered. Boxing is what it says it is. I mentioned to you at the beginning of the conversation. That fighter must introduce themselves to you in order for you to embrace them. Become a fight fan. To be supportive of them. No men have done it better than the men I just named. September 17th, 1954, World Heavyweight Champion Rocky Marciano knocks out former World Heavyweight Champion Ezzard Charles, 8 rounds. Referee was Al Burrell. He stops the contest at New York's Yankee Stadium in front of a sellout crowd. Marciano was a 9-5 favorite. The contest was stopped 2 minutes and 38 seconds of the 8th round. That was scheduled for 15. Now to show you how tough Ezzard Charles was, although he was stopped by Marciano, Wednesday night, January 13th, 1954, Charles would KO hard-punching Bob Satterfield at the Chicago Stadium. And the referee, Frank Gilmore, had stopped the contest. Second round. Charles had hit him with a left hook, right on the button. Charles that evening was 32 years old, stood 6 foot, weighed 189 pounds with a 73-inch reach. Walked into the ring with a record of 84 wins, 10 losses, 10 draws, with 47 knockouts. Bob Satterfield was 30 years old that evening. He stood 6 foot 2 inches, weighed 181 pounds. Had a record of 32 wins, 14 losses, 2 draws, and 25 knockouts. Bob Satterfield was in the ring with Howard Johnson and Bob Baker. Charles in the ring with Howard Johnson, Rex Lane, and Coley Wallace. Now, Bob Satterfield, his name was Robert Satterfield. He was born November 9th, 1923, St. Louis, Missouri. He died June 1st, 1977 in Chicago, just 53 years of age at the time of his rest. Fought from 1945 to 1957. He ended his career with a record of 79 total bouts, 50 wins, 25 losses, 35 knockouts. He was stopped 13 times. Bob Satterfield. Good punch. Now, he fought in 1941 Golden Gloves, weighing 147 pounds. Served in the U.S. Army, 1942 to 1945. He was in the ring with fighters such as Charlie Doc Williams, Ezzard Charles, Clarence Henry, and Ray Augustus. Cleveland's Big Cat Williams, Lee Omer, Bob Amos, and Archie Moore. Oakland, Billy Smith, Sammy Baruti, Jake LaMotta, and Bob Foxworth. Joey Maxim, Wesley Bacon, Rex Lane, and Johnny Holman, as well as Frankie Daniels and many more. He was even in the ring with Jacob LaMotta. Wednesday, July 1st, 1953, Bob Baker was KO'd by Big Bob Satterfield, 2 minutes and 32 seconds of the first round. Contest took place at the Chicago Stadium. The referee was Frank Gilmore. He says no more. As the 33.5-pound heavyweight weighed much more, he collapsed to the canvas from a vicious right hook, left hook combination to the jaw. Bob Baker was 26 years old. He stood 6 foot 2 inches and weighed 214 pounds. Had a record of 30 wins, 2 losses, 1 draw, and 17 knockouts. Bob Satterfield was 29 years old. He stood 6 foot 2 inches, weighed 181 pounds. Had a record of 30 wins, 14 losses, and 2 draws with 23 knockouts. Bob Baker was born October 26, 19. He was a tremendous puncher. He died April 23rd, 2002, He was 75 years of age at the time of his death. He would reside in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, fought from 1949 and 1959, 10-year stretch. Ended his career with a record of 68 total bouts, 51 wins, 16 losses, 20 knockouts, and he was stopped 3 times. He fought Johnny Holman and Julio Mendoris, Rex Lane and Tommy Hurricane Jackson, Nino Valdez, Coley Wallace, Willie James, and Archie Moore, Jimmy Sladd, Joe Baskey, Clarence Henry, and Charlie Doc Williams. Between October 28, 1952 and January 12, 1953, faced Billy Graham, Billy Gilliam, Cesar Brion, Rusty Payne, Jimmy Bivens and Sid Peaks, Elkin Brothers, Dale Horn, and Frankie Daniels. What a fighter Bob Baker was. Bob Satterfield. These were some heavyweights during their day. Now, Wednesday, October 20th, 1954, Newark, New Jersey's Johnny Saxton would defeat world welterweight champion Kid Gavilen, 15 rounds in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Many thought Gavilen defeated Johnny Saxton. Johnny Saxton was given a victory. Yes, he was promoted by the mob. Kid Gavilen was afraid of this victory for Johnny Saxton. He felt that would happen. The contest took place at the Convention Hall in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And this was some contest. They all had it for Saxton. Johnny Saxton was born July 4th, 1930 in Newark, New Jersey. He died October 4th, 2008, 78 years of age at the time of his rest. And he would reside in Newark, New Jersey. Fought from 1949 and 1958. Entered his career with a record of 66 total bouts, 55 wins, 21 knockouts, 9 losses, and 2 draws. He was KO'd by Johnny Bratton, Carmen Basilio. He was in the ring with Joe Maselli, Ralph Tiger Jones, Freddie Dawson, and Billy Patrol. He was also in the ring with Virgil Akins. He was 24 years old when he fought Kid Gavilen. Stood 5'9", had a 71-inch reach, had a record of 44 wins, 2 losses, 2 draws, and 19 knockouts. Kid Gavilen was 28 years old. He stood 5'10.5", had a 71-inch reach, and a record of 98 wins, 14 losses, 4 draws, and 26 knockouts. They fought in front of 7,909 spectators. They contributed $57,121. Gavilen and Saxton bout was scheduled July 14th, 1954. It was postponed due to Gavilen's injury of his right hand. The bout was once again rescheduled from September 1st, 1954. Gavilen supposedly had a stomach virus. And he also claimed he had the mumps. March 12, 1952. The world lightweight champion, Jimmy Carter, defeats Luther Rawlings 10 rounds in Chicago. Luther Rawlings was born March 24, 1929 in Memphis, Tennessee. Weighed 135 pounds. He died March 7, 1992. He was 82 years old. He resided in Chicago, Illinois. He stood 5'11". I'm going to get a quick sip of water. He fought from 1947 to 1959. Had a total bout career of 70 contests, 37 wins, 14 knockouts, 24 losses. He was stopped 6 times with 9 draws. You see, these men that I'm referring you to fought in the times when the mob was at its highest point when it came to controlling the game of boxing. February 25th, 1955, world featherweight champion Sandy Saddler defeats Teddy Red Top Davis, 15 rounds in New York's Madison Square Garden. July 20th, 1955, Saddler lost 10 rounds to Gabriel Little Flash Olarte. January 18th, 1956, KO Flasholati in San Francisco, California. 13 rounds. The referee was Jack Solomon. In front of 6,000 spectators, the referee, Ray Flores, would control the action at the Cow Palace in Daly City, California. The fight was stopped 59 seconds of the 13th round by Dr. Robert Ladden. Now, Gabriel Flasholati, his name was Gabriel Olarte, was born March 25th, 1935, in Metro Manila, Philippines. He would die January 2nd, 1985. He was 49 years of age at the time of his arrest. He would reside in Philadelphia. Fought from 1951 to 1971. Had a record of 118 total bouts, 89 wins, 33 knockouts, 27 losses. He was stopped 4 times. Now, I had the pleasure of meeting Sandy Saddler, Gabriel Flasholati, Kid Gavilen, Johnny Bratton, Johnny Saxton. Never met Bob Satterfield. I never met Rocky Marciano. Never met Joe Louis. I didn't meet Ezzy Charles. I saw him before he passed away. Jersey Joe Walcott, Ray Robinson, Henry Armstrong, Charlie Burley. Had to take a pause because those memories are Basilio, Gene Foreman, Tony Pallone, Ralph Tiger Jones, Freddie Dawson. Billy Kahn, Charlie Puseri. Trying to remember this. I just think back and remember the times that I had the pleasure of meeting a lot of these men. And it was a thrill to me, as it may be a thrill to you, of the fighters that you meet today. And it should be. Fighters put their lives on the line on a daily basis. And once again, at the top of the conversation, I told you, in order for you to appreciate that fighter, not be a fanboy, appreciate the fighter authentically as a man, not as a fanboy. He has to introduce himself to you. The connection of who you are embraces his personality, because you can identify with this individual. If you don't identify with the individual, you are then a fanboy. That's just the game. You're following the trend of others who appreciate a certain fighter, either because they live in their state, they live in their hometown, they know the individual, so they get everybody else to follow them. That is not a boxing fan. That's a fanboy. And if that identifies with you, then it is what it is. Everyone should have their individual opinion based on what that fighter represents to them specifically, not what that fighter has done outside of the ring, what he does inside the ring. Who he is as a true man or woman. The character of a fighter is most important, because that will then represent what he does outside the ring. And if that fighter has character, it would show when he's in his legacy fights or when he's in a moment of crisis. And that you can respect. And that is what identifies who that individual in the ring is. That's what it's about. Science of boxing is to hit, not get hit. But when you do get hit, who are you? How do you change it around? What's inside the tank? What are you fighting for? See, these are the things that should be your most concern. Not the name of a fighter, but what the fighter represents within the name of the man. If you understand that, then you can appreciate the game of boxing. Thanks for listening. I'm Scrapbook Boxing. the Museum of the Forgotten Fisticuff series, stating all great fights and all great fighters will never be forgotten on my channel. I want to appreciate your time. Those who take the time to truly understand what the game is about, where it came from, why this game is still around today, who the major players are, and what contributions they have made. See you in the next video, in the next conversation. Be well. Peace.